Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we do another deep dive into Hulu. And with that, let's get to the list. In the Earth is a 2021 bio-horror movie. Written and directed by Ben Wheatley, it stars Joel Fry, Reese Shearsmith, and Haley Squires. As the world searches for a cure to a devastating virus, a scientist and a park scout head deep into the woods. But as night falls, their journey becomes a terrifying voyage through the heart of darkness, as the forest comes to life around them.
You worried she's gonna get you?
Yeah, who is it?
It's a local folktale. She's the spirit of the woods.
I feel fortunate that I was able to see this one in theaters. It's one that, like a lot of horror movies I talk about on this channel, they just kind of fly under the radar, but I think this is one that was extra interesting to me because I saw it in theaters. Maybe you don't feel this way, but I really appreciate being able to see these really small movies, ones that IFC puts out, Shudder or Neon, or just any of these really small companies, the ones that are even smaller than A24. And when they do make it into a theater, I just love that because it's artists making art. These movies are definitely not about the money because they're all on micro budgets, and this one fits that to a T. It's a low budget, high concept film that really has a small cast. There's not a lot as far as set designs. It's really just these few characters that are out in the woods. But these different things that happen, there's a mysterious quality, and you can really feel the passion and heart and soul that was put into this. You can just really see the artist's vision in it. But keep in mind, this is a small movie, so you gotta keep your expectations in check. It is somewhat of a slow burn, so you gotta be patient. But I found it to be a disturbing, uncomfortable movie, and one that I think is definitely worth your time.
Into the heart of darkness.
Crimes of the Future is a 2022 sci-fi body horror movie. Written and directed by David Cronenberg, it stars Viggo Mortensen, Leah Seydoux, and Kristen Stewart. The story follows a performance artist duo who perform surgery to their audience in a future world where humans are no longer experiencing pain, and surgery is a new form of entertainment.
Surgery is sex, isn't it?
Is it?
You know it is. Surgery is the new sex.
I'm a big fan of David Cronenberg's work. The last few years, I've really dove in and watched as many of his films as I can get my hands on. And I just enjoy the way he sees film, because even a movie that some may consider to not be that good, I still think is very fascinating because just the style, the way he makes them look, the way his characters perform, and just the whole universe that he creates, I find to be very captivating. And that's the case with this one. It's really flown under the radar. I know it lost money, and I find that to be just a real shame because is it his best movie? No, I'm not gonna say that, but I do think there is still a lot here that is worth seeing. Just the visuals, it's disturbing and uncomfortable. It deals with some really heavy issues and asks some big questions. It's well put together with some fantastic acting performances, some really cool practical effects, stuff you just don't see a lot of anymore. I think it's a very entertaining movie and one you should absolutely add to your list. Titane is a 2021 French psychological body horror movie. Written and directed by Julia Ducournau, it stars Agathe Roussel, Garance Millier, and Vincent Lindon. Following a series of unexplained crimes, a father is reunited with his son who has been missing for 10 years. This This is a bizarre, strange, uncomfortable movie in pretty much every way you can think of. It's one that you're going to be left trying to figure out what you just watched after the fact. Definitely a psychological horror movie, and I loved it. I loved every single second of this movie because it's just so twisted, and there's so many things in it that you just never see done. It's creative, artistic, it's well put together, the acting is fantastic, but it's just not your stereotypical type of story. It doesn't make a lot of sense in a lot of ways, and it's just a hard movie to decipher. I think you could have 50 people watch it, and I think all of them would come up with a different conclusion on what they think it actually means. But if you enjoy twisted, uncomfortable, artistic horror movies, this is one you should absolutely check out.
What's going on?
Ultrasound is a 2021 psychological thriller, directed by Rob Schroeder in his directorial debut. It stars Vincent Kartheiser, Chelsea Lopez, and Brita Wool. The plot follows a man's sexual encounter with a married woman that results in them questioning their sanity.
I don't know if...
But I saw you looking at her.
Come on. What?
You, the looks. You were staring at her.
Come on. Whoa. Back off a little bit, all right? I wasn't staring at your wife.
This is another strange, uncomfortable indie movie, and one that you never hear anyone talk about. This is kind of getting into the weeds of some of the more obscure indie movies out there. And it's another one that is hard to figure out exactly what you're watching. If you're someone that likes the psychological, slow burn, kind of artsy movies, this is one I think that would be right up your alley. Because I've seen this movie twice now, and I'm still not exactly sure what I watched. But it's weird sci-fi meets conceptual filmmaking. It's just a strange little movie, but I found it to be really interesting and definitely had to share it with you guys.
But she got a very suspicious.
Sea Fever is a 2019 sci-fi horror movie. Written and directed by Nisa Hardiman, it stars Hermione Corfield, Dougray Scott, and Connie Nielsen. The story is about a crew of an Irish trawler marooned at sea that struggles for their lives against a growing parasite in their water supply.
Something's wrong.
So this deals with some of my favorite things, where it's the ocean and the unknown, the creatures that might be there. And this is a small movie, so don't go into this expecting some massive creature feature kind of thing, because it's not that. But it does do some pretty cool stuff and goes in some interesting, mysteriously fun directions. I think it does a lot with what they had to work with, and I really enjoyed the cast in this. They just all do a fantastic job. It gets disturbing and uncomfortable and mixes in some fun body horror. I think this is a great little gem that's definitely worth your time.
Death is a disease. There's a cure.
The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster is a 2023 sci-fi horror movie, written and directed by Bomani J. Story in his directorial debut. It stars Layla Dilion-Hayes, Denzel Whitaker, and Chad Coleman. Vicaria is a brilliant teenager who believes that death is a disease that can be cured. And after the brutal murder of her brother, she embarks on a dangerous journey to bring him back to life.
Death is the disease that broke my family. I'm sick of seeing it.
This was in a lot of my top 10 list from last year. Just so many things about this that I thought were absolutely phenomenal. The look, the practical effects, the acting, the directing, the pacing, the editing, cinematography. It's just a really cool indie movie. It gets brutal and savage, and I think is a really fresh spin on the whole Frankenstein story. It's bleak and uncomfortable and disturbing without being depressing, and that's a tough line to walk. This is an imaginative, creative, interesting movie, and one that I highly recommend.
Where are we going?
Almost there, bud.
The Clovehitch Killer is a 2018 psychological horror movie. Directed by Duncan Skiles, it stars Dylan McDermott, Charlie Plummer, and Samantha Mathis. A picture-perfect family is shattered when the work of a serial killer hits too close to home. This is such a cool movie. If you're a fan of true crime and serial killer type of things, I think this one will be right up your alley. It has that mystery, whodunit, crime drama kind of thing going on, but it does some interesting things with the idea of that. And the performances are what really make this movie shine, because Dylan McDermott especially is just fantastic in this. But I don't want to say anything more than that because I don't want to spoil it, but it'll definitely keep you on the edge of your seat, engaged the entire time. I think this is a fantastic, heart-pounding thriller and one you should definitely check out. Bone Tomahawk is a 2015 Western horror movie, written and directed by S. Craig Zoller in his directorial debut. It stars Kurt Russell, Patrick Wilson, and Sid Haig. The story is about a small-town sheriff who leads a posse into a desolate region to rescue 3 people who were abducted by a cannibalistic Native American clan.
Mrs. O'Dwyer was abducted.
She is my everything, and those savages have got her. God knows what they're doing to her.
I love the mashup of Western meets horror movie, and I just wish that we would have more of them. I've been working on putting together a list of my favorite 10 for quite a while now, but it's tough because there really isn't that many of them. I mean, I do, for the most part, have my list put together, but I still need more recommendations from you guys. So please, down in the comments, tell me what your favorite Western horror movie is. Let me know which ones you think should be on it, and if that's even a video you would enjoy watching or not. But this one is right up there with the best. It is just absolutely chilling, uncomfortable, terrifying. I mean, it really does pack a punch with being so all over the place, hitting on all these different kinds of emotions. Because it is a fantastic Western, but then as the story progresses, it gets more and more uncomfortable and chilling. And I've seen some people try to say it's not a horror movie, but I don't know what your definition of horror is then, because there is one scene in this movie in particular that is one of the most bone-chilling, terrifying, absolutely fucked up scenes you will see in a movie, period. Either way, it's a fantastic movie, well put together, well performed by this all-star cast, and one that if you've never seen it, it should be at the top of your list.
You figured it out. You need me.
Run is a 2020 psychological thriller. Directed by Anish Shagati, it stars Kira Allen and Sarah Paulson. A teenager confined to her wheelchair soon becomes suspicious of her mother and begins to suspect that she may be harboring a dark secret.
You do everything for me. You teach me. You cook for me.
This is a really well done movie with great performances. Sarah Paulson especially is phenomenal in this. It's something though that really struck home to me, and I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil what happens in this movie, but let's just say my upbringing was similar in some ways to what happens in this movie. Granted, not quite to the extreme, my life wasn't a movie, but it does have a lot of parallels, and enough so that just like the movie Carrie did, it really affected me and got to me. So this may not be as heart-pounding and intense for everybody else as it was for me, but it also has parallels to a story that's been big in the news. So either way, I think it will be something that's interesting to most people. It's well-paced and keeps you engaged throughout. And even if you see the direction that this movie's going, the ways that it goes about getting there are what make it entertaining. I think this is a fantastic nail-biter and absolutely worth giving a look. Dashcam is a 2021 horror movie. Directed by Rob Savage, it stars Annie Hardy, Amir Chadha Patel, and Angela Inhoro. At the start of the pandemic, an indulgent, self-deluded live streaming improv musician abandons LA for London, where she makes the wrong decision to give a ride to an elderly woman who is not what she appears to be.
Hello?
Listen, I just need you to take my friend somewhere nearby.
This is Angela, her and I, taking a trip.
I had a lot of fun with this movie, and I do get some of the hate because Annie Hardy is a very annoying person in this film. And from what I know, she's kind of just being herself. This is kind of what she is. I mean, obviously she's turning it up because she's in a movie, but this is kind of who she is. And I will not argue at all that she's annoying, that she is, definitely nails on a chalkboard. But that is by design. That is exactly who you need her to be in this for the directions that it takes. And it's frustrating because I've actually heard a number of people saying they couldn't even finish this. And it's like, guys, you watched it and had to deal with the annoying part of it and yet missed out on what makes this movie special. Because if you hang in there and realize that you are supposed to hate this character, it is so much fun. The final act, especially in this movie, just completely goes off the rails, goes in a lot of wild directions, and I just thought it was a blast. It's a bummer to me because Rob Savage, I think, is a really talented filmmaker who did host, and then this was his follow-up to that, and I just think he did a great job with it, and I think it deserves a lot more credit than it gets. So if you heard all the negative that was being said about this and so just didn't give it a shot, I think you might want to rethink that, because I think you'd be pleasantly surprised. Either way, I think it's a perfect pick for this Saturday night. So do yourself a favor this weekend, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy, and enjoy! And that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for checking this out. If you enjoyed it, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel. And when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this every single week, I also want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys absolutely mean the world to me. And if you would like to help support this channel over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or if you want to become a channel member and help support the channel that way, there's a button right down there that says join. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. And if you enjoyed this, click right here to watch what YouTube thinks is the next video that you would like. And I'll see you guys next time.